Good afternoon, everyone. It's Adrian, continuing my discussion on how to approach the English language papers 1 and 2. I've been spent yesterday talking about a specific question and how students can approach the question in 3 ways: by looking at the time they need to put in for the question, they need to look at the marks of how many marks they need to attain, and then they need to structure an answer that hits all the points that the examiners want. As you can see on the screen, I've opened up the screen with the front of a revision guide that I've put together over the last few years. The most popular one at the moment, Adrian's Revision Secrets 1 and 2, based on AQA GCSE Language Papers 1 and 2. So this is something that I have also put on the screen again for students now who are year 11 and they want extra help before the exam. They can purchase this online on a link on this video for only £5 today, and it will help them structure all their answers in the exams where they do paper 1 and paper 2, because as I've mentioned several times now, that the format of the questions in the AQA language papers never changes. So this is the booklet they need to go into, and if I just go on to it now, it's got a lot of detail. So when you look at the start, it talks about the cover page of the exam paper, and then it talks about the reading, the methods. There's exam strategy that I encourage students to do to take control of time in the exam. There's nowhere on the paper it says you have to do it in any particular order anyway. And then there's lots of tips about how to go about. There's the mindset strategy mindset that I do as a picture, and it kind of instantly gives a reference to the type of question that's coming on, like language and structure and whatever. So that is what this guide will be. It also has many elements of how to do the questions all the way through. It's full of answers. It's more of a workbook than a guide, and it's very user friendly. It's not done in academic language. It's done in very much the way I'm speaking to you on this video now. So that is something I really would encourage. If you can't afford tuition, surely you can manage £5 that will help you through the exam. So do go online on this link and purchase your copy. You'll get a digital copy in PDF. And once I've got your email, because you have to give an email in order for it to be sent to your email, I will then also send you a Word version so that you can annotate, change, and everything else. Okay, so that's that one. Now, the next thing that I wanted to do is quickly share what question I want to just focus on today. So it's question 3 in the language paper 1, which is the structure question. And I'll just pick up the structure question again from Jamaica In, which was the extract that we were looking at yesterday related to question 4. So I'm just going to share the screen again, and hopefully it will be able to come up on the screen if I just look at what there is. Yes, so this is it. So I'm now sharing the screen, but I want to go to the question 3 because we did 4 yesterday. So question 3 is just here. Now this question, the one thing you notice straight away is that the students now have to look at whole of the source. Now, question 4, strangely enough, is a bigger mark, and this one here, the mark that the students will get is only this number. It's only 8 marks. It's quite ironic when you think that the students now have to look at the whole of the source and go through it. So let's have a look at the question and the way it's phrased. So this text is from the opening of a novel. We know that the novel is by Daphne du Maurier at this point. And this is a generic question. It's the same question all the way through the AQA Language Paper 1. So it says, how has the writer structured the text to interest you as a reader? Now, it's quite interesting because I teach students from other boards as well, and they have a very similar question to this. But they say, how has the writer structured the text to engage and interest you as a reader? And to be honest, I think the word interest doesn't really cut it for me. It's not strong enough. But interest basically means, how does it engage you? How does the writer get involved and draw you into the story? And then it gives you the usual AQA advice, where it uses a very tentative imperative sort of things to do that you should do, but it says could. Now, when you see advice being given and you ignore the advice being given, then there's got to be something wrong with that. So take the advice and think about that you must or should write about the following. And it gives you 3 bullet points, sorry, and it actually sets up a structure the way you can answer. But remember the way I spoke yesterday, that when we're looking at the questions, we as students have to maximize our time, but not waste time. Now, this is only 8 marks. So my immediate feeling is that if I can do 4 small paragraphs, which are spread across the whole of the source chronologically, and get 2 marks for each of those, then I'm going to get maximum marks. But what we need is a very simple structure. And there's one already built for you. It says it here, what the writer focuses. When it says you could write about what the writer focuses your attention on at the beginning. So, you know, there's straight away. So I would start this. I'd say, at the beginning of the source, the writer, and I'll pick some sort of thing, draws our attention. I'll get the typo right in a minute. So basically, what I'm trying to show you there is, at the beginning of the source, the writer, let's get that right, the writer draws our attention to. So, and what do we look at? We look at the beginning. Now, funnily enough, hold on to that thought, because it says at the beginning. So that could imply at some point that we may look at the end as well, because when we think about structure, there's lots of structural language that we use. We don't start taking language references all the way through in the same way. So you don't start talking about a granite sky. You would probably talk about the type of language the writer is using. So you might use positive language, emotive language, negative language, and things like that. But there are other structural features that I will tell you about in obviously the revision guides, but they are words that we should use, like mood, tone, at the beginning in this paragraph, negative, positive, flashback, circular narrative. There are all sorts of things that the examiners have put together in extracts. The Daphne du Maurier extract is not a contrived extract. And what I mean by that is the extract is actually a genuine start of a story. Some of the other extracts that come later on in the AQA Language Papers 1 were short stories, and they have been annotated and changed, and things have been taken out and things have been put back in. So there are contrived extracts. So the examiners are trying to get the student to find various elements of techniques in the insert that they read. But my advice is always read the extract and the insert and get the feeling of what that is about. Don't start analyzing straight away. If you start analyzing straight away, you don't get the point. And it is very important to spend time reading the source well to identify things. Now, at this point in my strategy, this will be the 3rd question that you're doing. It is question number 3, but we would have already done question 5 and question 4, and now question 3. And in some ways, it's better that the structure question is done first, because a lot of the students don't find the language question as hard, because language and similes and metaphors and all those sort of things were taught in primary school very well, and many students still remember those sort of things. So let's go back to the structure. So we're going to get one paragraph and look and focus on the beginning of the source. Now, there's another thing that gives you an opportunity in the bullet points there. It says how and why the writer changes this focus as the source develops. So you could put as a phrase like this: as the story progresses, the writer shifts focus to. So you've already got now a kind of structure building, and we're trying to get a paragraph out of this where we're picking something from the beginning of the extract, and then as the story progresses, the writer shifts focus to. So that's another one. And then, so you're going chronologically through the extract and picking out elements that you think are adding value to the story and have kind of an impact and engage you and set the mood, the tone, add a bit of tension, add a bit of mystery, or whatever it is you're trying to get out. So the next one you could put is further, and that would be your next parting one. So in the way, by doing this structure here, we are beginning to focus very clearly on each paragraph, which is not going to be overwritten, where we're trying to pick a structural feature and show what the impact is on the story and what mood it sets, etc., etc. And sometimes the paragraphs will contrast, and that's another word that's used. And then you could put, and finally, and you could say, at the end of the passage, we could possibly focus on something else. So by structuring out those paragraphs, which take no time at all, learn these phrases, you know, yourself. This is how you revise for English. The format of the question never changes. The only thing that ever changes is the text that you're reading, and that, of course, is something that, you know, you do have to read well. That's why I've said in throughout that, you know, the examiners are telling the students that you have 15 minutes of reading time, and if you read well, you're going to save time. So for this particular question, there's the structure. I haven't shown you the text and how you would answer that, but that's for you to practice. But I would allocate for an 8-mark question 10 minutes to complete. Again, taking control of situation, because it's so easy to let time disappear. You must keep an eye on the clock all the time. So let's just stop that and come back out now. So that's a very quick lesson today on how you can approach the structure question. You do need to find out what is the structural language you need to use. There are many structural features. In some of the other structural features that come up in text is when there is actually speech in the text, and that is phrased in a structural way as dialogue. So the writer uses dialogue. There are also references on time. Time can also add tension and excitement, and obviously the pace of the extract can also be another structural feature, and repetition can be a structural feature. But again, you need to go and into my guides to really know what structural features are. But when you are doing an answer, remember, you're not just retelling the story. What you're doing is saying what the writer is showing and creating here is this, and this is the impact on us as the reader. And when it says how, and pick out any structural references that interest you, do actually think about something that stands out in your mind, and be, you know, you can be quite personal as long as you're using the right evidence. Okay, well, that's it for today. I hope you have benefited a little bit from this today as well. And I look forward to all the feedback from you. And please do think about whether you require tuition. I have been stating to people early on, because I get pretty booked up pretty quickly, that I will be opening up about 10 tuition spaces from the middle of June, when the year 11s that I have finished their time on the GCSEs. Anyway, take care. Wonderful day today. Enjoy the weather.